Michigan will beat Ohio State in 2021. What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and we've got another reality check video for you. This one in response to some comments on Michigan possibly beating Ohio State this upcoming season. You have to go back to 2011 to find the last time that Michigan beat Ohio State. And if you go all the way back to 2001, from 2001 until now, Michigan has only beaten Ohio State 2 times. Only 2 times. This has been a very one-sided series really since 2001. But if you look at the all-time series, Michigan does still have an advantage. So Ohio State still has some work to do before they take control of the actual all-time rivalry. And you go back to just a couple of years ago, 2019, I will admit, I picked preseason. I picked Michigan to upset Ohio State, or I don't even know if it would have been an upset in the preseason. But I picked Michigan to win that game. I thought it was their year. They were playing at home. Justin Fields looked horrible in the spring game. I remember I definitely put way too much weight on that spring game, and something I've definitely learned from. I thought Michigan would. I just thought it was their year. I thought Shea Patterson, he had come in there and they were changing their offense, going to a more spread attack. I thought that was going to work out for them, and I was not alone. There were preseason magazines that picked Michigan to make the college football playoff that season. A lot of people, I'd say the majority of people, were picking in the preseason Michigan to beat Ohio State. Maybe not Ohio State fans, but just the average college football fan really thought Michigan had a chance that year. It didn't happen. The game wasn't even close. It was 56-27. That was the score in 2019. And you go back to the year before that, in 2018, it was 62-39. And it just felt like this rivalry, Michigan is just so far behind Ohio State. It's not even close. And it's hard to imagine Michigan beating Ohio State in the near future. But we're going to look at 2021 and see if maybe there are some reasons for optimism if you're a Michigan fan. And maybe they could pull off this upset. We'll see. Again, it's going to be very tough. And it's something that I'll go and tell you right now, I'm not picking it. I will pick Ohio State in this game. There is a spoiler for you. I've done that a few times now where I've given you some picks. We haven't made official predictions yet, but I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to pick Ohio State to beat Michigan this year. And that's just my pick. But we're looking at if it could happen. Could it happen? So here are reasons. Actually, first, let's look at the comments that brought this video on. Kev said Michigan beats Ohio State. Now, he is obviously an Ohio State fan, was not predicting it. I didn't see any comments of actually predicting this to happen, but people just want to know. We had multiple comments. He said Michigan beats Ohio State. We had a 1, a 4, a 2, and a 3. Those were the on the reality meter, and I'll show you the meter in just a second if you're not familiar with it. And then we had Notre Dame fan. He said Michigan beats OSU. I heard a Michigan fan say this, so apparently he did hear a Michigan fan say this. And then we had another comment on Michigan beating Ohio State in the next 3 years, which we'll get to in just a minute. But before we go into that, we're going to look at 2021, and here are reasons why it could happen. So I'm giving you reasons why it could happen. That tells you right there that I do not have this as a 1 with no chance of happening. It could happen, but I'll tell you where I think it does land on that reality meter in a second. So let's look at the reasons. We'll start with number 1. Inexperience at quarterback for Ohio State. They don't have a guy that's played any significant time at all. You look at C.J. Stroud has played a little bit, Harry Miller a little bit, but they really just have not had a quarterback to play any significant time in a game. And we can look at all 3 guys and say they're big-time recruits, they have all this talent, but until we see them on the field in a real game, you don't know for sure. Now, I think Ohio State's going to be just fine at quarterback, and having 3 guys, out of those 3, someone is probably going to step up, and I think it's going to be C.J. Stroud. I think he's going to do great things for Ohio State, but we don't know that. So I'm trying to just give you some hope if you're a Michigan fan. There is an inexperience there at quarterback, and so perhaps they're not quite as sharp offensively. They're not scoring 60 points a game like they did the last couple of years. And then on the other side of this, we look at the Michigan side at quarterback. We should see improved quarterbacks for Michigan. We should see improved quarterback play for Michigan because they've got options, and they've got a guy in Alan Bowman who has done it. He's proven that he can be a quality quarterback. Cade McNamara looked pretty good last year when he got in there. It didn't play a whole lot, but I think there is some optimism with him. And then you've got J.J. McCarthy, a 5-star guy, a guy with all the talent. So you've got options here at quarterback. Just like with Ohio State, one of them is going to probably be pretty good. Plus, the game is late in the year. So when we talk about J.J. McCarthy and you think, well, he might not be ready to start week 1. Maybe he's the most talented guy. But by the end of the year, he might have gotten in there and won that starting job. And maybe he takes this Michigan offense to another level. We don't know, obviously. But there's reason for optimism if you're a Michigan fan because of these two things. And we know the quarterback position is the most important position. It's the most influential position when determining who's going to win a game. I mean, it just is. So you've got maybe an advantage at quarterback if you're Michigan, maybe not. It's too early to tell, but there is reason to be optimistic and think that you might have an advantage at quarterback, something that Michigan just has not had in this series. Let's go to number 3, home field advantage. We should see crowds back this year. I'm hoping it's 100%. This is going to be in the state of Michigan, so who knows what they're going to do, and who knows where we're going to be at this time. We feel like things are getting back to normal, and we're going to have fans and everything, but something can happen, and you never know. But assuming there is a significant home field advantage, I'm talking about 50% or more, and even last year, some of the games where it was 20, 25%, there was a home field advantage. That's enough of a crowd to make an impact. So you've got the home field advantage if you're Michigan. I think that is big. It hasn't really helped them in recent years, but it is an advantage, and it's something that will help them out in this game. And maybe it doesn't help them a whole lot, but it will help. And then at number 4, secondary issues for Ohio State. So we have seen the secondary really struggle. We saw it last season against Indiana. Big time problems. Gave up a lot of big plays. And then in the playoff, in the national championship against Alabama, which of course, nobody was really stopping Alabama's offense last year. But still, there are issues there, and they're not very deep in the secondary. They're not super talented, and you could even maybe go to the linebacker position as well. The defensive line for Ohio State, they look really, really good. That's going to be the strength of this defense. But when you look at the linebackers, the secondary, there are some holes there. And if Michigan's offense can take that next step in the passing game and exploit some of these weaknesses for Ohio State, that's going to give them a chance to maybe score some points in this game and give themselves a chance. And then at number 5, it's the unknown for Michigan. They made a lot of changes this offseason, a lot of coaching changes. They've been really secretive this spring. They didn't have a spring game on TV, really not getting a lot of information from spring practices. So maybe they're going to be better than we think. And I know people look at Michigan last year and how bad they were. They look at the last 2 years against Ohio State. But overall, Jim Harbaugh has had Michigan as a top 15 team pretty much every year besides last year. So, I go back to last year and everyone's thinking that Michigan, it's falling apart. This team is going to be terrible. They'll be lucky to make a bowl game. Don't look too much into last season. It was a crazy year. They're making some changes this offseason. I think Michigan will bounce back. To what extent, I don't know, but I think they bounce back from where they were last year at least, and they're a quality team. But again, that gap between Michigan and Ohio State is so big that we've seen the last couple times they've played. I don't know if Michigan can close that. I just don't really see enough there to where I would pick Michigan to win this game. But there are some things going in their favor, like I just showed you. And if everything goes their way, if the inexperience for Ohio State catches up to them and they don't get good quarterback play, and Michigan, somebody steps up for them at quarterback and plays really, really well, they get that home field advantage. The secondary, they can exploit that because the passing game takes the next step. And then just the changes, the overall culture changes here in Michigan. The team buys in, they play harder. All of these things go in their favor. Maybe they have a chance. So let's look at the meter again. This is what it looks like, again, 1 through 10. And based off of what I just said, I think it's a 3. I think everything would have to go their way for them to beat Ohio State. You're going to have those things that I just mentioned. You're going to have a quarterback step up. Maybe J.J. McCarthy by the end of the year is looking like a superstar. You're going to have to just evolve that passing game. Be better through the air and exploit that secondary for Ohio State. You're going to have to take advantage of that home field. You're going to have to hope that Ohio State doesn't get great quarterback play, which is, again, something that you're just going to have to hope for. So that's why I say everything would have to go their way. All the things we talked about would have to go their way for Michigan to win this game. I wouldn't put it at 2. I'm not going to say it's not impossible. I think there is a path there. And again, when I say everything would have to go their way, if everything does go their way, if they get into this game and they force a couple of fumbles, they force some turnovers, some penalties go against Ohio State, all of these things going in their favor, I think we give them a chance to win this game. Do I see it happening? No, but I think it's a 3 here on the reality meter. And someone else asked me, or commented on this video, on the reality meter video, and said, Michigan beats Ohio State in the next 3 years. So we're talking about in the next 3 years. Jacob said, okay, maybe 2. We had another 2, a 1. So where do I think it falls here? Well, a lot can change in 3 years, but I'm assuming Ohio State's still going to be humming along. I don't really see them dropping off. They're going to be a top 5 team pretty much every year. So it's not going to be like you're going to count on Michigan, or Ohio State, I should say, to fall apart. Maybe Ryan Day goes to the NFL or something like that. But even when they went from Urban Meyer to Ryan Day, there really wasn't a drop-off. In fact, you could argue that Ryan Day's got Ohio State in a better position now. So you're not going to just get lucky and have Ohio State fall off the map. Unless there's recruiting violations or something like that, Ohio State is going to still be there. So for Michigan to beat Ohio State in the next 3 years, they are going to have to up their game. They're going to have to be that top 5 team. Do I see it happening this year? No. Do I see it happening next year? Probably not. And a lot of this does also depend on, if Jim Harbaugh struggles the next 2 years, he's probably going to be gone. So there are so many different factors. Who will even be their head coach in that 3rd year, 3 years from now? It's hard to say, but they have some things going for them. They're still recruiting pretty well. J.J. McCarthy could potentially be a superstar quarterback in 3 years as a junior. They will have that game at home. So I think there is a better chance of Michigan beating Ohio State in 3 years than there is this year. And again, I give them a slight chance this year. So if we're talking about within the next 3 years, I'm going to bump it up to a 4. I'm going to say don't get your hopes up. Again, there's really nothing that tells me that Michigan is going to be able to do this. I wouldn't even say you can be cautiously optimistic, just because, again, Ohio State is just at that next level, and I don't know that Michigan can get there in the next 3 years unless they make some drastic changes. I don't think Jim Harbaugh is the guy. I know some people will agree and some will disagree. I don't think he's going to get them to that level. I think they're going to have to make a change. They're going to have to get a home run hire. I don't know who that is. But if they do that, say after this year, they make some changes and then give him a couple of years, who knows? Maybe Michigan could knock off Ohio State in the next 3 years. But I'm going to say don't get your hopes up. I don't really see it happening. And again, it's going to be a 4 for me here on the reality meter. Do you guys agree? Do you disagree? What are your thoughts on Michigan beating Ohio State? Not just this year, but in the next 3 years. Tell me where you think it would land on the reality meter and just your thoughts on this topic overall. Thank you guys for watching this video, and stay tuned for more here on the SG1 Sports College Football Channel.